Bocca.
Chats with
Andrew Cotto.
Today we're talking with award-winning author of 3 fantastic novels, Andrew Cotto, who's a regular contributor to the New York Times, Rolling Stone magazine, Conde Nast, and many more. He's lived my dream of just packing up and moving to a small town to write the great wanderlust novel, so let's get into it.
Hey.
Oh.
Hey.
Oh, what's up, Roberto?
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. What's new?
You got a much cooler backdrop than I have.
You like that?
Yeah,
That's
very much.
Production value.
Wow, yeah, work it.
Yeah, I guess. You should see what it looks like in my apartment.
Where are you?
Horrible.
Are you in Red Hook too?
I'm in, usually I'm in Astoria. But right now I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, waiting out the storm.
How's it out there?
Everyone's a bum, so, I fit right in. It's no big deal. Where are you? Where do you live?
I live in Greenwood Heights, section of Brooklyn.
Greenwood Heights? I don't know if I know that.
Yeah, you do, but no one knows that they know it. If you're heading up, it's near Red Hook. So if you went from Red Hook out up to like Fifth Avenue,
yeah,
like by Park Slope, and you went towards what they call South Slope,
yeah,
heading towards Sunset Park.
Yeah.
It's between South Slope and Sunset Park. There's a big, huge cemetery here. There's a big cemetery called Greenwood Cemetery.
Sure.
With the highest.
Oh, Greenwood Cemetery. Now it makes sense.
Yeah, I think Greenwood Heights is like a real estate invention.
Yeah, sure.
You throw the heights on there and increase value by 15%. I guess.
That's funny. Yeah, Peter, my co-producer, he lives on Union Street in Red Hook.
Yeah. I saw that in the film. I was like, we used to live down there.
That's your neighborhood. Yeah,
we were in Carroll Gardens for years. I used to go to Caputo's all the time.
Wow, it's the best.
So I was just right down Court Street from there on First Place.
So you know what the deal is.
I know the deal.
I also saw you did a piece on Il Triangolo in Queens.
Yeah. You know those guys?
Oh, are you kidding me? For red sauce, it's the only place to go.
My family's from Corona.
Get out of here.
Yeah, my first book, The Domino Effect, takes place in Corona.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, the kids.
Peter and I are both from Queens, so I'm from Astoria.
Where's Peter from?
Peter's from Bayside.
That's right. I saw that. So they're actually family of mine. Like the owner, he's cousins with my uncle. So we're
That's funny. Yeah. So is your family from Calabria?
That side of my family is, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So Andrew, let's talk. Let's talk about food in Italy.
Please. You guys like 6 hours?
Yeah. Let's start in the beginning.
Check out the help section in your Ultimate Years app.
My computers are talking to me. Go to bed. Get out of here. All right. Back to the interview. So you're born where? New York?
Jersey. Over the George Washington Bridge.
Okay. And when do you eventually move to New York City?
Well, I spent my childhood in and around the city. My family's from the city. We were in and around all the time. Then I moved around the States quite a bit through my teenage years, always knowing that I'd come back to New York the second I could. As soon as I finished college, I went to California for a year. My parents were living, busted my ass to save all the money I could, and got to New York when I was about 22.
Okay.
That's 30 years ago.
That's wild. And then when did you get into writing? Did you do that right after California or?
No, this is sort of I had the most uncircuitous route towards writing of anybody I know. I mean, I was not academically inclined growing up. I wasn't into reading. Every other writer I know spent their childhoods reading voraciously, as they say. And I was out, being a knucklehead and playing sports and doing other things and just being who I was. I went to college to play baseball. Okay. Getting bored, quit, and realized, when I was sitting there in college, I really liked English class. I really liked writing, creative writing, and learning literature. And I decided that's what I wanted to do. But I didn't decide this till I was like a junior, heading to my senior year, and I got out of college, and I'm like, I don't know. This is going to be a tough turnaround for me right now to really sort of figure out this whole writing thing. Even though I had stories I wanted to tell, and I felt like I had the ability to do so, I put the brakes on. I came to New York, was living on my cousin's couch. I was going to go to Hunter College, get my master's degree in English, and start writing stories. And someone offered me a job in the record business, and I just took it. I was like, I got to eat.
Right.
The starving artist thing wouldn't have worked for me. So
it's a real thing. It's a real problem.
it's a real problem. And, I don't know if it would be worse for me, the starving part or the artist part. But after 10 years or so in that industry, I really wanted to write. And it kept coming back to me. Right. Then I went to Italy for the first time. First time in my life I went there, and I was 30 with my wife. And we were there for about 2 days, and I said, we got to move here.
Why did you go? Why did you go?
Vacation. It was like, we had, I won a trip from my job, go anywhere you want for, X amount of dollars. I was like, they had a cruise picked out. Like, I'm not going on a cruise. I don't thank you. I'll take the money and go to Italy, because I've been dying to go. I was living in New York, in the late 90s, on an expense account. I was eating out of all those wonderful restaurants, sort of in that scene. And so I got really into cooking and eating out, fine wines, etc. So we went to Italy. We went to Venice for a couple of days, and down to Florence. Time we got to Florence, I'm like, we're moving here. Wow. My wife was, shook her head, and she does like 4 times a week, like whatever, But we were there. 2 years later, I quit my job. We were living there in the hills south of Florence, and I wrote The Domino Effect there, my first book, when I was mentioned to you before. And then many years later, I went back and set Cucina Tipica in that very same spot.
Okay, so to me, this is like the dream. This is a dream that a lot of people have. They talk about, I'm going to move to Italy. I'm going to find a little pension. I'm going to find a little casita, something, and I'm going to write the great novel that I want to write. So Tell me, how in God's earth did you actually make it happen?
I don't know, man. I guess I must have been like a little bit stupid, a little naive. I just felt like, I could do it. And I was young enough. I was at a point where I didn't take that chance when I got out of college, right? I played it safe, right? I was in a position then, by the time I reached my 30s, that I could take a chance. We owned property in Brooklyn. It wasn't so risky. And I just really believed, in what, in the story I wanted to tell, in my ability to tell it. And I so wanted to live in Italy. I just wanted to. I didn't want to move there for good. I mean, we had family. We had a toddler at the time. He's 18 now. But I just wanted to go for a year. I wanted the adventure, and we could do it. The means were there. We could pull it off. So, and we went for it. It was so much easier than I thought too. I went on the internet. I found this place to rent. We bought plane tickets. We subletted our place, and we just actually it's like we were renting a car for a year and heading to our new home.
So you went on vacation for a year, basically. You rented a place, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of it. My wife quit her job. It wasn't. And we didn't bother with like trying to get visas or permission. I waited at the embassy one day, and I'm like, "Fuck." You've
ever gone to the Italian embassy?
Yeah,
it's a real treat.
No way. If they catch me, they catch me, right? So it was really cool. And we had really great landlords. We lived in a barn, a renovated barn behind a villa up in the hills south of Florence. The people who owned the villa were this lovely retired couple who were very helpful to us. And we made friends in the village quickly. They're like, "Who are you people?" Right? Yeah. What are you doing? We were like an attraction. Right. Right. Just two Americans and their baby. And people were coming up to us all the time, like, "Why are you here?" And they were so helpful. It was magical. It was the best time of my life. Yeah.
Let me ask you, why did you choose that town? I know you went online and you must have seen it and like, this place is great. But like, why? What was it about that town? And was it? Did you go specifically because it was small and kind of unknown?
Well, I think the fact that it was unknown is why it was so affordable. Right. And why it was available for a year. And it was a year rental. They were like, they do occasional week here, week there. I was like, I want it for a year. They're like, okay. But I definitely wanted to be in Florence. I mean, we did the Venice Florence Rome thing, and Florence is sort of where my heart was. Though I loved the other cities too, and go to them often, and ended up living in Rome for a while later in my life, more recently. But the Florence is just like it just captivated me in a way that I thought it was the best place for us to live.
Wow, that's wild. So you wrote 2 books there, not just one.
I have 3 novels that are published. The first one is The Domino Effect, which I wrote while living in Italy. We came back to New York. I went and got my master's degree in creative writing from the New School. I wrote a noir called Attleboro Blues, a Brooklyn Mystery. Right. The sequel to that is coming out later this year, as a matter of fact, which I'm really excited
congrats.
about. Awesome. Thank you. And then I wrote Cucina Tipica, an Italian adventure, which is set in the place where I lived when I wrote the first novel. So I used that entire backdrop there. I created, I obviously fictionalized the characters. It's not a memoir. It's not, Eat, Pray, Love. I was joking that my story would be like eat, drink, repeat.
That's the title of my biography.
That's what I'm saying. That'd be mine. That's my life. So it's fictionalized characters, but it's set entirely in the village where we live. Like, I mean, I didn't change a thing. I mean, the butcher's the butcher. You know, the shoe guy's the shoe guy. It's all the same people.
That's great. I love that. I mean, we're doing a talk later with Atlas Obscura about using cookbooks and novels as alternatives to like Yelp or, you know, travel media sites.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's so much richer because you're not looking at a picture of something and then having that picture. You're getting inspired by someone else's experience to go have a different and your own experience. So you writing about your own town, you know, using the same street corners, the same people, the same restaurants, like using a movable feast, like Hemingway's movable feast in Paris is a singular joy that I don't think a lot of people realize they can do. So novels like yours, to me, like really perk up my ears. You know, it's like, it's awesome to do that. Yeah.
And that was sort of the intention behind it. I mean, like almost every place that I depicted or that they eat out is a real place. Often using the very, very same names of the places too, right? What was the point of me trying to fictionalize the establishments, right? You know, they go down by Cibreo, you know, Fabio Picchi. He has the Cibreo auspices. They're there at Dario Cecchini's place. You know, that I had to fictionalize because I needed to, you know, have the character that would be Dario, the big central figure, the very famous butcher, be younger and sort of create some drama in the play. But I used the exact locations and all the places and the exact same theatrics of it.
Sure. I mean, I know Dario. I'm sure he's fine with him being portrayed as younger because he feels that way anyway.
He's truly one of my favorite people in the world. He's like a hero to me. I think he's such an amazing human being.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So let's talk about Cucina Tipica and, you know, what the story is about. And more importantly, I think for us and, you know, what we're doing with In Bocca, why write about food? What is it about food that can wrap a story around itself so well?
Sure. Well, the story itself, in a nutshell, is about a disheartened American. He's a guy, a millennial, gets fired from his job in pretty spectacular fashion, falls into a depression here in New York. His fiancée is a travel writer. She knows the world. He's never been outside of America, but she knows that he has a fantastic palate. He loves food and wine. She thinks that if he goes to Italy for an extended period, he'll find some sort of, you know, healing there. So she arranges an extended assignment in Italy for a travel guide. They get there, they break up, and he's like, "I'm not going home." He's like, I'm not returning to America. I have to stay here, right?" And you know, so it's dubbed by the publisher as a wine-soaked, food-filled adventure. And that's really what it is. Because the big part of the motivation, the big part of why he wants to stay, is because he loves, you know, the wellness that he gets on an everyday basis from eating really good food that's been grown locally or raised locally, drinking amazing wines with it that are affordable. You know, they're made on the hills that you can see from where you're sitting usually, and that impacts his life in an enormous way. And he doesn't want to have to give that up. And you know, that food is a driving part of the narrative. Right? You know, it's called an Italian adventure, but there's no like car chases. You know, it's not the Da Vinci Code or anything like that. You know, the adventure part is him trying to find some family he has there. But that's like, you know, the scenes are really where events happen over the course of meals. And so they get a lead from the butcher about they might know someone who knows someone, and like instead of like running off to like chase it down, they sit down and have a big long meal and talk about it.
Yeah, it's a real adventure. It's the adventure that you can have if you let yourself go to these places and explore and, you know, get off the beaten path and just like listen to the people, listen to the culture, and let it guide you. You know, an actual adventure. You know.
Yeah, that a person could have in real life.
Yeah, without car chases or, you know, James Bond kind of stuff. Which I prefer because it usually ends with a good meal and a great bottle of wine. You know, that's usually how I like to end most nights.
Agreed.
I think that's fantastic. What do you think about like Italian culture? I mean, Italians and Italy in general as a country have procured and solidified their stance on what they believe is la dolce vita, the dolce far niente, the proper way of living, the proper way of eating, of the proper way of relationships. Why? What is it about that country that has refined it to the point where like that's what it stands upon? That's its pedestal for culture, basically.
I think it's just from centuries and centuries and centuries of trying to get it right. and they finally got it right. I mean, they've been the most powerful, well, they weren't a country then, but they had empires and et cetera. And I think they just been through so much that they finally figured out what matters. Right?
Right.
It's a quality of life that comes from simplicity, but with that simplicity comes great meaning and value. What's more important than being around the table with your friends and eating really good food? I mean, there's nothing I'd want more than that. And especially right now. And I think they get that, and they're fortunate in that where they're located. I mean, the Italian Peninsula is like the most precious piece of earth you can imagine, surrounded by seas on both sides. It's got mountains, it's narrow. The conditions are so perfect for producing such exquisite, products, that they're sort of lucky to have that advantage. But I think the Italians just get it, nice shoes, good wine, appreciation of family, right? Not striving for too much. And we're beating our heads against the wall so much here in America, and I'm not anti-capitalist or, I'm not anti-America in any way. I love this country too. But, one of the things I wish that we would do here is slow it down a little bit and not be so ambitious all the time and put so much stock in status, right? And spend more time just eating and drinking together and enjoying each other's company and enjoying our lives.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I mean, I think I love New York because it represents Italy in a lot of ways, the cultural aspects of it, where people do honor food in a different way. And I think the hipster revolution, even though that hipster is a bad word to some, has kind of focused on these ways of living and procuring things that are slower, but will give you a better product at the end of the day. And it might be about cultivating relationships slower, or not being so immediate as a consumer. But at the end of the day, New York can give you that kind of experience if you go look for it. Where I think newer cities, because they haven't had the time to get it right or to fail enough to figure out what doesn't work, don't support that. So I think older cities in general, like a New York, like a Paris, like, anything, you're going to find that culture, that underbelly, that if it's lasted this long, it's obviously good. So you can always bring that back to the house with you,
Yeah, agreed. I think that America is getting better at appreciation of food and where it's from, et cetera. And eating is becoming more and more popular. The idea of going out and spending your money on a meal as opposed to, going to the racetrack or something. I don't know.
Totally. I mean, I don't know about you, but I remember when Taco Bell opened up in Long Island, like it was a big, like Mexican food, like people were having their minds blown. There were no restaurants, not like now where it's like every week they're just getting shuffled out and there's like a new list of the top 10. So I think food and travel, at least before the world shut down, was at obviously an all-time high. So it's nice to find books and other ways to go take these trips without having to leave home, and I think books like yours and even cookbooks like this In Bocca series can kind of let you do that, which is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought the books that you guys are featuring in your series for like portals. There was a show my son used to watch when he was little, a cartoon called Time Warp Trio. But these three friends who had a book, a history book, and every time you opened the book and went to a different chapter, it took you, it transported them to wherever the chapter took place. And I was thinking of that when I was looking at those books in the different regions of Italy, like how they just take you right there.
Yeah.
Through the story of their food. And these cookbooks are narratives. I mean, I read them like books. I read all the words, I go through them, and the recipes are parts of the narrative. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah. Especially these too. Yeah. I mean, especially these books, because they're not just recipes where they're giving you the ingredients and this is how you make it, and now you have a dish. They're told to you like your grandmother tells you the dish. So you're getting a little bit of the flavor of the country, the county that they're from, the region they're from. And then you're also getting like poetry and drawings and little bits of sayings here and there. So to me, these are like better than encyclopedias. They give you a real sense of where these regions are and what they mean to the people that live there. So it's interesting and worth looking into, because I think now with the Instagram, with the TripAdvisor and Yelp, that gets boiled down to the same photograph every single time. Everyone's having the same experience. They see an experience, they go replicate the experience, and then they write about that experience, and then other people see it, and then it gets artificially pushed to the top. Whereas back in the day, you'd have to go talk to people, and you'd have to fail and not have the best meal of your life some nights in order to have the best meal of your life some nights. So it's a different way of thinking of travel and exploration of a culture.
Absolutely. I'm also stunned by the fact that you guys have these books. I mean, that unto itself is an incredible story. I mean, just that Peter remembered these things from his childhood and went back and got them. It's crazy. Yeah. And they're bound in cardboard. I mean, the fact that they exist and survived and were found by you guys, it's like archaeology.
Yeah, they barely exist. And it's funny, we really did this for no other reason, just to have a meal. Like, I document everything because I'm a filmmaker, so the camera's going to be rolling regardless. But this has been on our mind because we've been looking at these books for a long time. They kind of bounded us as friends. We had so many great experiences because of them. And then we're like, okay, the world's shutting down tomorrow. Let's go out to the best places, the Caputos, the Pinots. Let's get the best ingredients and make like just this killer last meal. And we put this film together. And what's so cool about it is that, we really did it just for the sake of doing it. But the daughter of the man that actually published these books, Il Vespro, she saw it and she called me on the phone.
No kidding.
Yeah, man. And like, I was waxing with her for like an hour and she was like, the handwriting in the books is actually my aunt's, and like getting this information firsthand from the source was blowing my mind. It made the books even more like fantastical for me. And then my mother saw it and she was like, I have 2 of these books. Your father bought me one when we first started dating. Naples, which is so like, again, it's like bringing in like more history, and everyone's connected by these books. And it's, I don't know, like some things are meant to happen. This was meant to happen.
I want to connect you to the books.
Well, now you are. We're connecting through the books. It's happening. It's happening right now.
As we speak. I'm going to say, the film was fantastic. You make great films, man.
Thank you. I mean, that's high praise coming from you.
Well, and especially now, I can't watch anything, man. People I can't read and I can't watch anything. I can write and cook and eat and drink wine and walk dogs. Right. But I watched that video like 3 times, man. It was so good. Your editing skills are fantastic, man. So it moves quickly. It was getting my attention. But the story itself, right? I always know when I read something that I wish I wrote, when I start feeling envious. I imagine the filmmaker, you're like, damn, you see this piece of it, you're like, I wish you get like that envy feeling. I had the envy of the narrative you guys were following, going to the stores, and talking to the people who work in the stores and picking out the ingredients and coming home and cooking with your pal, and then inviting people over. I was just like, I want so in. Right? I want to be part of this so badly. It was great. That to me is always what makes a great story. Right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're pissing people off, you're doing something right.
The writing, or the other, what you do with the camera and the editing for film, but like the actual story. If you want to be part of that story, the storyteller has succeeded. Right?
Well, I really appreciate that. And to be honest with you, like this is literally not to like sound, we're amazing. This is just what we do. If you live in New York and you love food, you can go deep into that hole, So, we'll be like, what do you want to make? I don't know. Let's make carbonara. Like, well, we got to go with the best guanciale. It's like, I found this guy up in the Bronx. He makes it in his garage. Like, it's an adventure to make a dinner because it's a thing you do every single day, and it can be boring and pedestrian unless it's not. And then it becomes a great adventure. So why not roll the cameras and, Pinots? Hey, do you mind if we come with a camera? Yeah, fine. Just, I didn't shave today. Don't worry. We'll make you look good. Okay, fine. Then you come in and they're great guys. That's New York for you. It's like, just roll and make it happen and then don't worry about it,
This must be so much fun.
It really is. And we're hoping to develop it into a series because again, this is what we do. We just need to do more of it. And the best part is for me is meeting people like you.
Wheel.
What?
You need a third wheel.
Well, a third, a fourth. Let's make a train. You know what I'm saying? Like, the more the merrier. This is just living. It's the best part of it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question: having seen the film, and obviously you love it, so I feel safe asking this. You're a writer for the New York Times. You've written for the Huffington Post. You've written for a lot of publications. You're a journalist. What do you think is about this story that's so interesting?
It has so many different facets that are connected to it. So there's all these narrative threads working, right? There's the fact that Peter remembered the stories from his youth, right, and went back and found them, right? That'd be a big theme, right? Nostalgia, etc., or connection to ancestry. Right? There's the fact that the content of the books is so interesting, right? Like there's 20 books, one from each region, with all these recipes that sort of cobbled together, and almost like told, like if someone was telling to you, like like your grandma was telling it to you, right? Really unofficially, like my Thomas Keller cookbooks to tell you right down to the last grain of flour that you put in there, right? So there's all this like mystique with the recipes themselves, especially since they're rooted in ancestry. Right? These are old recipes, chicken liver pate sauces. I actually make a chicken liver pate with my bolognese version. There's a Florentine version of bolognese that uses chicken livers.
Oh, I bet that's good and rich.
It's so good, and it reminded me very much of what you guys are making. Because all these, like, the veal under the tuna, like there's all these really great recipes that are ancient and historic and tell the story of Italy, region by region by region. Right? I like that part, the distinction you made, that they're all fiercely independent of each other. Right? They're each one of those 20 books is a different story. Collectively, they tell the whole story of what we call Italy. So there's that part too. I think the books themselves, are, and the fact that you and Peter are pursuing together as such good friends is a really compelling part of this whole thing too. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this when we first got on, but like the project I was working on when the coronavirus became a reality, we shut things down, was one I was really struggling with. It was an article I'd written about a friend of mine who I lost. And I wanted to tell this. I wrote an article about it. I thought I wanted to try and extend that into a memoir, about the power of friendship, of male friendship, in particular. The guy was like part of my DNA. And I just couldn't get my head around it. It was just too hard. I kept thinking that, no one cares about this kind of crap. And, it's hard to, sort of, find a way to tell it. And watching you guys, how openly, admiring of each other you are, what great pals you are, was a really big part of the story too. But that made it really compelling.
Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I mean, there was a lot of alcohol that went into this project.
Yeah, wine.
Yeah, right drunk and edit sober. That's
part of a lot of friendships. That was certainly part of my friendship with my pal.
Yeah. I mean, don't deny the realities. Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you watched it, and I'm so glad it let us connect, because at the real foundation, that's what anything I feel worth doing is for: connecting. Any art you make, any writing, like connecting to a culture, connecting to people, like this is truly beautiful and amazing to me. So thank you.
Me too. Agreed. Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
So to close this up, what's next? When are you going back to Italy? What are you working on? Tell me.
Great question. So when the coronavirus became a reality, and I put down my other project, I became fascinated with what was happening in Italy. It was there first, we all recall, right? And I was hearing from people all the time from there saying, what we're going to do, blah, you need to, help drum up tourism for us still. And I couldn't do that, but I was following the story. I was so immersed in it that I started thinking about Italy, nonstop. And I had planned at some point to write a sequel to Cucina Tipica. It was going to be called Cucina Romana. It's going to take place in Rome. And so I just dropped my other projects and started writing it. And I'm just writing the hell out of it. Like, it's coming to me like as nothing's ever come to me. I think I'm just so connected right now spiritually to Italy that I'm feeling, the connection in a way that's just manifesting through the story that's just pouring out of me every morning. So I'm writing a lot of that. And I will go back to visit as soon as I can. I had plans to go over this summer. My second novel, the noir I mentioned, Attleboro Blues, Brooklyn Mystery, was translated into Italian last year. Oh. And I was waiting for the school year to end. I teach, I'm a professor of English at a college in Manhattan. I was waiting for the school year to end to go over there and do some promoting. So this obviously put a crimp on that. So as soon as it is safe to go, I am definitely going to be going over Italy. I want to be the first American on the ground there.
I feel the same way, man. Well, I'll meet you there, and I will definitely help you with any research you need with Italian cuisine, especially Rome.
I need second opinions and third opinions.
Oh, I will give you all the dozens of opinions. Don't worry. No problem. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for jumping on a call with me. I really do appreciate it. It's so great to talk with you and hear everything that's going on. And let's stay in touch.
I look forward to it.
All right, man. Be good.
You too.
Ciao.
20 rare cookbooks, 4 tasty dishes, 2 best friends. Watch the film, see the books, help Italy recover. Get hungry at italyinbocca.com.